judge because the external appearance or the external actions are only one part of what makes up the whole person.
Excellent point.
And a person is in process, right?
This is a great point.
There's a danger in me judging you harshly with condemnation for something in the moment that I witness.
As if I'm a static person. This is who I am.
Right.
Staple me to this action, staple me to this moment. I'm never moving.
That's right. And what it does is it has the effect of you, in feeling a lack of confidence from me, have less motivation to maybe reach higher or to move in a different direction, right?
Great point.
So we should, if we're going to err, and we're going to, we should tend to err on the side of mercy, err in favor of a person's potential, not to err in favor of a person's past failings. We live right now in what's called cancel culture.
I was just going to say that. Go on. I was just literally going to say right now, that's cancel culture.
Yeah, we're living in a situation right now where people are becoming increasingly more and more afraid to take any stand or to say anything about anything or to articulate whatever their opinion happens to be in this moment for fear that it will end their life, their career, their relationships, and that they will be, quote unquote, canceled, ruled out as a viable part of the community. It's very dangerous because it removes from the person the possibility of change.
Correct.
Assuming that change needs to happen. It could be that my judgment is wrong and they don't need to change and I need to change. But assuming that I've witnessed something wrong, I should hold out hope to the person by expressing confidence and withholding condemnation.
One of the features of what is now being popularly called cancel culture is not just the thing that you did today, the mistake you made today. It's literally going back
5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Sort of combing through people's social media posts or through things that they've said or pictures they've taken and say, look at this. This person made a mistake. This person said something they shouldn't have said. Now, nobody's saying that there shouldn't be accountability for bad actions and bad choices, of course. But the idea that is statically who you are.
And defines you.
Defines you.
Yeah.
Is really unhealthful, and it's unhelpful. I read a book, probably 3 years ago now, probably 2 years ago now, by a fellow named Douglas Murray. I think you read the book as well. It was called The Madness of Crowds.
Yep, read it.
And one of the interesting things is that he had the sort of major chapters, and then in between he had these like miniature chapters. And
interludes.
Interludes. And one of those interludes was on, and he's an atheist. Secular, atheistic person, actually quite a hugely intelligent, great writer. But he had one of his interlude chapters was on forgiveness. And I remember saying to you, Ty, I said, Ty, this guy gets it. Because basically he says, if we don't figure out a way in secular culture, secular modern culture, to embody and to actuate forgiveness, we're doomed.
It's over.
It's over.
Yeah, we will destroy ourselves.
And he literally said, we need to find some way of actualizing forgiveness in a modern secular context, because he's not a religious person. He sees the necessity. I mean, it's really a necessity to give people a pass, to forgive them. We've already talked about forgiveness, to move on, and to not hold people captive to the assessment that you make in this moment, in this situation, in this circumstance. As you say, people are in process.
If there is no forgiveness, we're all sunk. I mean, anything that you or I can find in someone's past, yesterday and backward in their life, by way of a failure. Somebody could do exactly the same thing to me, to you, and to anybody. There is nobody who, given sufficient investigation and looking into their past, something couldn't be discovered that would be quote unquote justification for writing them off as somebody that should not be taken into account anymore.
I'm so glad we're having this specific conversation, because what Jesus says right after he says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged," he says, "For in the same way." Right, or in the old King James, with what measure you meet, it will be measured back to you. In the same way that you judge others, you will be judged. Here it is, and with what measure you use, it will be measured to you. There are, I think, a great many people, and I include myself in this, at times in my life, who have caught somebody out. They've seen an inconsistency. They've spotted a hypocrisy, and we imagine that in that moment, our ability to identify hypocrisy or wrong think or wrong actions, that is it. We've achieved some sort of paragon of moral virtue, and that this is not also something that could in other circumstances or other situations be applicable to us.
Yeah,
and
it's dangerous.
It's exactly right. And Jesus says, you have to be very careful how you treat others, because the way that you measure, the way that you conduct yourself, it's going to come back on you.
Yeah.
Not in a vindictive way, but just in a, Jesus here is speaking about the nature of reality.
He is. He's not saying, judge not that you be not judged, in the sense of, hey, if you're judgmental and harsh and condemnatory, God is going to reflect your ugly image back to you. He's going to be judgmental, condemnatory, and harsh to you if you're that way. No, Jesus is saying that judgment and condemnation toward others produces a situation in which I will not be able to believe in God's mercy for me when I need it. And when do I need it? Well, I need it now, but I may not be aware of the fact that I need it now. I may feel really good about myself because, I have some kind of illusion of moral high ground. Nobody in the world has any moral high ground. And
we've already seen that we're all hungry and thirsting for righteousness. And that's not to say, David, it's not to say we need to acknowledge this, and not just acknowledge it, but really nail this down. What Jesus is not saying, what we're not saying, is be blind to wrong or blind to evil. Or blind to injustice.
You should be able to look at an act of injustice, an act of sin, an act of evil, and call it what it is.
Correct.
And this is a legitimate discernment. I mean, where would the world be if we were all just walking around completely blind to the difference between right and wrong? So as we said at the beginning, there's a legitimate kind of judging. Jesus said, by their fruits you will know them. Well, that means that you are looking and you are assessing and you are aware. You're discerning. I mean, a synonym for the word judge is discern. If I say to you...
Or evaluate.
Yeah, evaluate. If I say to you, hey, I know a lady named Debbie, she has really good judgment. I mean, she has good discernment, not that she's judgmental. So there's a legitimate judging in which we see a thing for what it is, call it what it is, maybe even call somebody to repentance, maybe even call them to account. Correct. But you can actually call someone to account and at the same time hold out hope, hold out the possibility of change, reform, transformation. But without that, we're all sunk. And that's what Jesus is saying. If you operate on a narrow, judgmental, condemnatory premise, well, where does that leave any of us? It's going to come back on you at some point.
Correct.
Maybe not in this moment. You may feel really good about yourself right in this moment because you've seen what's wrong there and you're calling it out. But man, oh man, what if miraculously a videotape of everything that you have ever done was played across the night sky for the whole world to watch? I think you'd go silent. Suddenly you wouldn't be as eager to point out somebody else's failures. Yeah. And Jesus gets at this when he says, listen, take the beam, the 2x4 out of your own eye so that you can see clearly enough to properly deal with the failure of your brother, of your sister. There's a speck in their eye, but you have a beam in your eye, and you need to remove that so that you can be merciful as you assess, as you see what you see, that's wrong, and I love you.